This is not the first attack. We've had 6 attacks in 4 months. What's different this time round to justify the significant reaction in the market?
Well, this is different. First, all those Patriot missiles were asleep. Nobody shot down anything. Previously, the drones were shot down. This time, there were 10 drones. They all entered. Precision, effectiveness is not something that Yemenis could do themselves. I mean, they are pretty much country bumpkins. They can't do this kind of things. So somebody has taught them how to do it, or somebody has done it for them. And I think that puts the suspicion right on Iran, where the capability exists. I can't see anybody else in the Middle East who can do this kind of thing.
So you're saying possibly Iran is behind it. The reaction has been tremendous. We saw Brent futures rising as much as 20%. I mean, is this it? Or do you expect further reaction if there's further attacks, further tensions?
Well, you don't know what next happens. But based on what has happened already, I think we are pretty much at the maximum height, $66 for Brent right now, and probably falling in the next few days. It is all to do with how much you use those stocks, strategic stocks and commercial stocks, and the Saudis have plenty of it. We haven't heard anything from the IEA yet, which has got huge reserves, stocks. If the situation was dangerous, IEA would step in and start releasing much faster than the US would.
Doctor, that's just the point, isn't it? It is a very well-supplied market. Some have even argued there's a glut there. So is this reaction, do you think, overdone?
I think that if we go back to before the drone attacks, the market actually pretty balanced. No big surplus. And the Saudis had cut back production 500,000 barrels per day below their quota. The demand is weaker by 500,000 barrels per day. So it was somewhat of a balance in the market. So I think that the rise in the price is overdone. I would have expected $2 to $3 a barrel myself, and I think that's where it was going to end up. The prices will be $2 to $3 higher than they would have been because of this event. But it's nothing so dramatic because the stocks are there, inventories are there, and they will fill it up. The question that nobody knows is how serious is the damage, and I think the Saudis themselves are not quite sure how extensive the damage is.
Doctor, let's also just get to the attack itself. The fingers are pointing at Iran, but with what was seen as a tentative rapprochement taking place between Tehran and Washington, what was Iran's upside should they have done this?
Yeah, but you need to think by putting yourself in their position. Their position is that now everybody knows that I have a serious upper hand and I can disrupt supplies. Today is in Saudi Arabia, next day it could be in another country. Next day it could be in Abu Dhabi, it could be in any place which is hostile to me. So now you want to negotiate with me, you really need to suspend the sanctions if you want to talk to me. I think raising the stakes, it makes a lot of sense from where they sit there. The rapprochement, I love you, you love me is not enough. You have to have something in your hand to negotiate with.
Dr. Fesharaki, Asia has been the biggest buyer of Saudi Arabia's oil. What happens now? I mean, will it be the US that'll be supplying the oil that Asia needs?
Well, the Saudis will be supplying most of the oil out of the inventories. A place like Japan has more inventories than even if they didn't have 190 million barrels of inventories they're sitting on. So they would not be impacted at all. I think the Koreans have a huge amount of inventory. The Chinese can go to strategic reserves. Also, interestingly, there is something like about 30 million barrels of Iranian crude sitting in a storage in China, which the Chinese can use if they so desire. So I think the situation is not that desperate. Lots of people can take care of it, and the Saudis are sitting on a huge amount of inventory that they will use.